Captain Alex Rivera stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova, watching the massive alien ships fill the viewscreen. The vessels looked like floating crystals, each one larger than a city. They moved in perfect formation, their surfaces gleaming with strange lights that pulsed in rhythm. "Captain, they're sending a message," reported Communications Officer Lisa Park. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and fear. Alex nodded. This was humanity's first contact with intelligent alien life. Everything they did in the next few minutes could change the course of human history. "Put it through," Alex ordered. The view screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something incredible. The alien being appeared to be made of living crystal, standing nearly 12 feet tall. Its body shifted between blue and purple colors, and where a human would have eyes, there were two bright orbs that seemed to look right through them. "I am Commander Thane of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien spoke, its voice echoing strangely. "You will prepare for boarding inspection. Resistance will result in immediate destruction." Alex took a deep breath. This wasn't the peaceful first contact that Earth had hoped for, but he had to try diplomacy. "I am Captain Alex Rivera of the Earth vessel Terra Nova. We come in peace and request diplomatic discussion." The alien tilted its head, a gesture that seemed almost human despite its crystal form. "Diplomatic discussion? You speak as if you have authority. Tell me, human, who owns you?" The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Alex frowned, not understanding the question. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Who owns you?" Commander Thane repeated slowly, as if speaking to a child. "Every being has an owner. Who do you belong to?" Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He was beginning to understand that this alien species had a very different view of life than humans did. "I don't belong to anyone," Alex said carefully. "I am a free individual who chose to serve in Earth's space exploration program." The crystal being's lights flickered rapidly, showing what Alex guessed was surprise or confusion. "Impossible. You command others, yet no one commands you. You must be lying to hide your true owner. This is most irregular. You will be brought before Queen Vela for proper examination." Before Alex could respond, the transmission ended. Within minutes, the Terra Nova was surrounded by smaller crystal ships. A strange energy beam locked onto their vessel, and Alex felt the ship being pulled toward the largest alien craft. "Captain, what are your orders?" asked his first officer, Commander Sarah Kim. Alex looked around at his crew. These people trusted him to make the right decision. If he chose to fight, they would all likely die. If he went peacefully, maybe he could learn more about these aliens and find a way to protect not just his crew, but all of humanity. "We go with them," Alex decided. "But stay alert. Be ready for anything." The Terra Nova was pulled into a massive docking bay inside the alien mothership. The bay was so huge that their entire ship looked like a toy inside it. Alex could see hundreds of other vessels, all different shapes and sizes, but none looked human. Soon, crystal beings appeared at their airlock. They were smaller than Commander Thane, but still impressive. Alex noticed that some wore what looked like collar devices around their necks. "You will come," one of them said. "Queen Vela waits." Alex turned to his crew. "Commander Kim, you're in charge. If I'm not back in 6 hours, contact Earth and tell them what happened." "Captain, let me come with you," Sarah offered. "No. I need you here with the crew. This is my responsibility." Alex followed the crystal beings through corridors that seemed to be grown rather than built. The walls curved and flowed like frozen water, and the same pulsing lights that covered their ships ran through everything like veins. As they walked, Alex observed the aliens around them. Some moved freely, giving orders and directing others. But many wore those collar devices and moved with heads down, following commands without question. Alex began to understand the social structure he was dealing with. They entered a vast chamber with a ceiling so high Alex couldn't see the top. At the far end, on a throne that looked like it was carved from a single giant crystal, sat the most magnificent being Alex had ever seen. Queen Vela was enormous, even for her species. She stood at least 15 feet tall, and her crystalline body contained swirling galaxies of color that moved and danced beneath her transparent surface. Her crown was made of what looked like captured starlight, and her eyes were like twin suns. "Approach, strange one," her voice boomed through the chamber. Alex walked forward, trying to project confidence he didn't entirely feel. The Queen's presence was overwhelming, but he reminded himself that he represented all of humanity now. When he reached the base of her throne, Alex stopped and looked up at her. He didn't bow, which caused a ripple of shocked sounds from the gathered aliens. Queen Vela leaned forward, studying him with intense curiosity. "You are the one who claims to belong to no one." "That's correct, Your Majesty. I am Captain Alex Rivera, representative of the human race." "Human," she repeated the word, tasting it. "And your species, do they all claim this impossible freedom?" "All humans are born free," Alex said firmly. "We believe every intelligent being has the right to make their own choices about their life." The Queen's colors shifted rapidly, showing what Alex was learning to recognize as extreme emotional states. "This is madness," she declared. "Look around you, human. See how the galaxy works. The strong own the weak. The wise own the foolish. The powerful own the powerless. This is natural order. This is peace." Alex looked around the great hall. He saw beings of many different species, but they fell into two clear categories, those with collars who served, and those without collars who commanded. The servants never looked up, never spoke unless spoken to, never showed any sign of individual thought. "With respect, Your Majesty, what I see is not peace. What I see is fear." A dangerous silence filled the chamber. Several of the alien courtiers made sounds that Alex interpreted as gasps of shock. No one had apparently ever challenged Queen Vela's worldview so directly. The Queen's colors darkened to deep red and black. "You dare to judge the order that has kept the galaxy stable for 1,000,000 years?" "I'm not judging," Alex said, trying to keep his voice calm and respectful. "I'm simply explaining how humans see things. We believe that when beings are forced to serve, they cannot reach their full potential. When beings choose to serve, they can achieve incredible things. Impossible. Without ownership, without control, there is only chaos." "Your Majesty, may I ask you a question?" Queen Vela studied him for a long moment, her colors shifting to curious blues and greens. "You may ask. When you make a decision for your empire, is it because someone forces you to, or because you choose to?" "I choose, of course. I am queen." "And when you choose, do you not perform better than if someone forced you to act against your will?" The queen was quiet for several minutes, her colors cycling through combinations Alex had not seen before. Around the chamber, he could hear whispered conversations among the courtiers. Finally, Queen Vela spoke again. "You present interesting ideas, human Alex. But ideas are not reality. You claim your people are free, but surely you have some who lead and others who follow." "We do, but it's based on voluntary agreement and ability, not ownership." "Show me." "I'm sorry. Prove to me that your impossible freedom can work. My empire faces challenges that our traditional methods cannot solve. If your way is truly superior, demonstrate it." Alex felt his heart racing. This could be an opportunity, but it could also be a trap. What kind of demonstration? Queen Vela's colors shifted to what Alex was beginning to recognize as amusement. "There is rebellion among the worker classes in the outer systems. They refuse to follow orders, they make unreasonable demands, they disrupt the natural order. My commanders have tried force, but the rebels only become more difficult. If your freedom can solve what ownership cannot, I will consider your words. If you fail, your species will join the empire as property." The weight of her words hit Alex like a physical blow. She wasn't just asking him to prove a point. She was asking him to save humanity's freedom. "How long do I have?" he asked. "1 solar cycle. 30 of your days." Alex nodded slowly. He had no choice but to accept. If he refused, she might decide to conquer humanity immediately. At least this way, he had a chance. "I accept your challenge, Your Majesty. But I'll need access to information about the rebellion and permission to speak freely with all involved parties." "Granted. But know this, human Alex. You will be watched constantly. Any attempt to deceive me or escape will result in immediate consequences for your crew and your species." "Understood." Queen Vela gestured to one of her courtiers. "Commander Thane will provide you with everything you require. Do not disappoint me. The galaxy is watching to see if freedom is truly possible, or if you humans are simply deluded children who have not yet learned their place." As Alex was led away to begin his impossible task, he couldn't help but think that the fate of human independence now rested on his ability to solve a problem that an empire millions of years old couldn't handle. He only hoped that humanity's belief in freedom would prove to be more than just a beautiful dream. Alex spent his first day studying reports about the rebellion in the outer systems. Commander Thane had given him access to countless files, but the more Alex read, the more confused he became. According to the Zephyrian records, the workers in the mining colonies had suddenly started refusing orders for no logical reason. "They have everything they need," Commander Thane explained as they reviewed the data. "Food, shelter, work assignments. Yet they demand more. It makes no sense." Alex looked at the crystal being who seemed genuinely puzzled by the situation. "What exactly are they demanding?" "Impossible things. They want to choose their own work schedules. They want to form groups to discuss mining improvements. Some even demand to speak directly with supervisors instead of receiving orders through the command chain." To Alex, these demands sounded perfectly reasonable, but he could see that to the Zephyrians, they represented a complete breakdown of social order. "Commander Thane, may I ask you something personal?" The crystal being's colors flickered with surprise. "Personal questions are not typically asked in our society, but Queen Vela has ordered full cooperation." "You may ask. Are you happy with your role in the Empire?" Thane's colors cycled through several patterns before settling on confused purple hues. "Happy? I do not understand this concept. I serve the Queen. This is my function. But if you could choose any role in the Empire, any job or responsibility, would you choose the one you have now?" The question seemed to cause Thane actual distress. His colors flashed rapidly between different shades. "Such choices are not possible. I was assigned this role based on my capabilities. The Queen's wisdom determined my function." Alex nodded, beginning to understand the depth of the cultural divide he was dealing with. "I'd like to visit the mining colonies and speak with the rebels directly." "That is dangerous. They have become unpredictable. I need to understand their perspective if I'm going to help solve this problem." 3 days later, Alex found himself on a transport ship heading to the mining colony on Kepler 7, one of the most troubled systems. The journey took 2 days, and Alex spent the time learning about Zephyrian society from Thane and the other crew members. What he discovered was a civilization that had achieved incredible technological advancement and galactic peace, but at the cost of individual freedom. Every being was assigned a role at birth based on species, physical capabilities, and social needs. They were then trained for that role and expected to perform it without question for their entire lives. But what if someone is assigned to mining but has a talent for engineering? Alex asked. Then they mine efficiently and do not trouble themselves with impossible dreams, Thane replied. This prevents disappointment and social disorder. When they arrived at Kepler 7, Alex could immediately sense the tension. The mining facility was enormous, carved into the side of a mountain rich with valuable crystals that powered Zephyrian technology. But instead of the organized efficiency he expected, Alex saw groups of workers standing around, some arguing with supervisors, others simply refusing to enter the mines. The colony administrator, a tall crystal being named Director Kell, met them at the landing pad. His colors showed stress patterns that Alex was learning to recognize. "Commander Thane, the situation has worsened since your last report. Production is down 60%. The workers have formed unauthorized groups and are making new demands daily." Alex stepped forward. "Director Kell, I'm here to help resolve this situation. May I speak with the worker representatives?" Kell's colors flashed with alarm. "They have no representatives. Workers do not speak for other workers. This is part of the problem. Nevertheless, I need to understand their concerns." Reluctantly, Kell led them to the main worker residential area. Alex was surprised to see that the living conditions were actually quite good. The workers had comfortable housing, adequate food, and medical care. But as he watched the groups of workers, he noticed something important. They never made eye contact with the administrators, they spoke in whispers, and they moved with the careful steps of people who expected punishment at any moment. When Alex approached one of the worker groups, they immediately scattered except for one brave individual, a smaller crystal being whose colors were dim with exhaustion. "I mean no harm," Alex said gently. "My name is Alex. I'm here to listen to your concerns." The worker looked around nervously before speaking in a quiet voice. "You are the strange one from the outer worlds. The one who belongs to no one." "That's right. What's your name?" "I am called Worker 47 Beta Mining Unit 12. The being paused. "But some of us have begun using old names. I remember my birth name was Vale." Alex felt a chill. These beings had been stripped of even their individual names and reduced to numbers and job functions. "Vale, can you tell me why you and the others stopped following orders?" Vale's colors brightened slightly, showing the first sign of hope Alex had seen. "You truly want to know?" "Yes. Follow me." Vale led Alex away from the main compound to a hidden area behind some equipment. There, Alex found nearly 100 workers gathered together. When they saw him, many started to leave, but Vale called out to them. "This is the being Queen Vela sent. The one who chooses his own path." Slowly, the workers gathered around Alex. He could see representatives from several different species, all wearing the collar devices that marked them as property. "We know we are risking much by speaking," said another worker, an elderly being whose crystal structure showed signs of decades of hard labor. "But we cannot continue as we have." "What changed?" Alex asked. "The reports say this rebellion started suddenly." "Not suddenly," Vale explained. "It began with stories. Traders from distant systems spoke of worlds where beings work because they choose to, not because they are forced to. At first we thought these were just tales, but more and more traders confirmed them. We began to wonder," added another worker, "what it would feel like to choose our work, to use our minds as well as our bodies, to be treated as individuals instead of tools." Alex listened as worker after worker shared their experiences. They spoke of having ideas for improving mining efficiency but being forbidden to speak. They told of watching other species receive better treatment simply because they were considered more valuable property. They described the pain of being separated from family members who were assigned to different colonies. "We do not want to overthrow the system," Vale said earnestly. "We simply want to be treated as thinking beings instead of living tools." Alex spent the next several days living among the workers, learning their daily routines and understanding their grievances. What struck him most was how intelligent and capable they were. Many had developed innovative solutions to mining problems but had never been allowed to implement them because it wasn't their assigned function to think. On his 5th day at the colony, Alex requested a meeting with Director Kell and the supervisory staff. When they gathered in the main conference room, Alex could see the frustration and confusion on their crystal faces. "Director Kell, I believe I understand the problem now, and I have a proposed solution." "Please, explain quickly. The Queen grows impatient, and I fear she will order military intervention soon." Alex took a deep breath. The workers aren't rebelling against work itself. They're rebelling against being treated as mindless tools instead of intelligent beings. They want to contribute their ideas, not just their labor. Impossible, Kel replied immediately. Workers work. Supervisors supervise. Engineers engineer. This is natural order. But what if the workers have engineering ideas? What if they've discovered more efficient ways to mine? Wouldn't the Empire benefit from their knowledge? The room fell silent. Alex could see the administrators struggling with concepts they had never considered. "You're suggesting we allow workers to think above their station?" asked Supervisor Nex, his colors showing deep concern. "I'm suggesting you allow workers to reach their full potential. In human society, we've learned that the best ideas can come from anyone, regardless of their official role." Alex pulled up the colony's production reports on the main screen. "Your current system produces 10,000 units of crystal per day. The workers have told me they know ways to increase that to 15,000 units, but they've never been allowed to try their ideas." "And if their ideas fail?" Kel asked. "Then you return to the old methods. But if their ideas succeed, the Empire benefits greatly." Over the next week, Alex worked with both the administrators and the workers to develop what he called the contribution protocol. Instead of simply receiving orders, workers would be invited to share ideas for improvement. The best ideas would be tested, and successful contributors would receive recognition and small privileges. Most importantly, Alex suggested that workers be allowed to choose some aspects of their assignments based on their interests and abilities, rather than being randomly assigned tasks. The administrators were terrified of the idea, but Director Kel finally agreed to a limited trial after Alex pointed out that current production levels were so low that any change was worth trying. The first day of the new system was chaotic. Workers who had never been asked for their opinions suddenly found themselves in planning meetings. Supervisors who had never listened to subordinates struggled to adapt. Some workers were too scared to speak up, while others were so excited they couldn't stop talking. But by the end of the first week, something remarkable happened. Production began to increase. Workers who had been assigned to tasks they disliked were allowed to trade with others who preferred those jobs. Miners who had geological knowledge were allowed to help plan excavation routes. Engineers began incorporating worker suggestions into their designs. Most importantly, Alex noticed a change in the workers' behavior. They stood straighter, made eye contact, and moved with purpose instead of resignation. Their colors became brighter and more varied, showing emotions that had been suppressed for years. Vale approached Alex at the end of the second week, his colors bright with excitement. "Alex, something wonderful has happened. For the first time in my life, I feel like I matter. Not just my labor, but my thoughts, my ideas, my choices." But not everything was going smoothly. Some administrators complained to Commander Thane that the new system was causing confusion and threatening the natural order. Some workers from other colonies heard about the changes and began demanding similar treatment, causing unrest throughout the outer systems. Most concerning of all, Queen Vela herself was planning a visit to see the results of Alex's experiment personally. Alex knew that if she disapproved of what she saw, it wouldn't just mean failure for his mission, it could mean the end of freedom for both the rebels and humanity. As Alex prepared for the Queen's arrival, he realized that he wasn't just trying to solve a mining problem anymore. He was attempting to prove that freedom and dignity were not just human concepts, but universal needs that applied to all intelligent life. The real test was about to begin. Queen Vela's arrival at Kepler 7 was unlike anything Alex had ever witnessed. Her royal ship descended from orbit like a falling star, its crystalline surface blazing with energy that lit up the entire mining complex. The ground trembled as the massive vessel touched down, and Alex felt a mix of hope and terror as he prepared for the most important presentation of his life. Director Kel was nearly paralyzed with nervousness, his crystal body flickering between colors so rapidly it was almost painful to watch. What if she disapproves? What if this experiment has angered her beyond measure? Alex placed a reassuring hand on the alien's arm. "Director, look around you. Look at what we've accomplished. And there was much to see. In the 3 weeks since implementing the contribution protocol, the mining colony had been transformed. Production had increased by 40%, far exceeding Alex's original promises. But more importantly, the entire atmosphere of the facility had changed. Workers moved with purpose and energy instead of the defeated shuffle Alex had first observed. They engaged in animated conversations about their projects, made suggestions to supervisors, and took visible pride in their achievements. Several breakthrough innovations had emerged from the workforce, including a new crystal extraction technique that reduced waste by 30%. The Queen's entourage emerged from the royal ship in a procession that seemed to stretch forever. Queen Vela herself towered above everyone else, her magnificent form catching the light of the system's twin suns. Her colors were darker than Alex remembered, showing what he had learned to recognize as skepticism and displeasure. Commander Thane, her voice boomed across the landing area, bring me the human who claims freedom can surpass order. Alex walked forward, his heart pounding. Behind him, he could see Vale and many other workers watching nervously. Their fate, humanity's fate, and possibly the fate of countless other species across the galaxy hung on what happened in the next few hours. Your Majesty, Alex said with a respectful bow, welcome to Kepler, 7. I'm honored you've come to see our progress. Queen Vela's massive form leaned down to study him, her stellar eyes blazing with intensity. Progress? My reports speak of chaos, insubordination, and dangerous changes to systems that have maintained galactic peace for millennia. Perhaps Your Majesty would like to see the results before making a judgment. The Queen's colors shifted to dangerous reds and blacks. You presume to tell me how to make judgments. Alex felt the weight of every watching eye. One wrong word could doom everything. I only suggest that the truth speaks louder than any words I could offer. For a long moment, Queen Vela stared at him. Then, surprisingly, her colors shifted to curious blues. Very well. Show me this truth. Alex led the royal procession into the mining complex. The first stop was the main production center, where teams of workers operated the crystal extraction equipment. Alex had arranged for Vale to demonstrate the new efficiency improvements his team had developed. Vale, Alex called out, would you please show Her Majesty the optimization technique your group created? Vale stepped forward, his crystal body trembling slightly but his colors bright with determination. Never before in Zephyrian history had a worker directly addressed royalty. Your Majesty, Vale began, his voice gaining strength as he spoke, we discovered that by adjusting the resonance frequency of the extractors based on real-time crystal density readings, we can increase yield while reducing equipment stress. He gestured to his team, who moved with practiced coordination to demonstrate the technique. The extraction rate immediately improved, and the quality readings showed superior crystal purity. Queen Vela watched in silence, her colors cycling through patterns Alex couldn't interpret. This worker developed this technique, she asked. Yes, Your Majesty, Alex replied. Vale spent his free time studying the equipment and noticed patterns that the original engineers had missed. Free time. Workers now have periods when they can pursue personal interests, study, or work on voluntary improvement projects. The Queen's colors flashed with alarm. You gave them time to think unsupervised. Yes, and their thinking has benefited your empire greatly. Alex led the procession to the next area, where another group was demonstrating a new team-based mining approach. Instead of individual workers following rigid assignments, groups of workers had organized themselves based on complementary skills and interests. These miners chose to work together. Queen Vela asked, her voice showing growing confusion. They discovered they work more efficiently and safely when they can choose compatible partners, Alex explained. The mining engineer, Zara, works with the geological specialist, Finn, and the equipment technician, Ross, because their skills complement each other perfectly. Queen Vela watched as the team moved through their work with obvious enthusiasm and expertise. Their production rates were nearly double those of traditionally assigned groups. But who controls them? Who ensures they maintain proper hierarchy? They control themselves through mutual agreement and shared goals. The royal procession continued through the facility, and at each stop, Queen Vela witnessed something that challenged everything she believed about social order. Workers who had chosen tasks suited to their abilities performed with excellence. Teams that had formed voluntarily showed remarkable coordination and innovation. Individuals who had been given respect and recognition worked with a dedication that forced compliance could never achieve. At the final stop, Alex had arranged something special. In a large gathering area, representatives from every department were presenting improvement proposals they had developed voluntarily. Engineers worked alongside miners, supervisors collaborated with maintenance workers, and even the lowest-ranked personnel contributed ideas that were seriously considered and often implemented. Queen Vela stood in the center of this activity, her massive form surrounded by busy, engaged, purposeful beings who moved without fear or hesitation. For the first time in her long life, she was seeing her subjects as individuals rather than functions. "This is impossible," she whispered, but her colors showed wonder rather than anger. "How do you maintain order without control?" An elderly maintenance worker named Cyrus stepped forward, something that would have been unthinkable under the old system. "Your Majesty, may I speak?" Alex held his breath. This was either going to be a breakthrough moment or a complete disaster. Queen Vela stared at the small, weathered worker who dared to address her directly. "Speak." "Your Majesty, I have served the Empire for 60 years. In all that time, I have never felt more loyal or more dedicated to our success than I do now. When I was forced to work, I did only what was required. Now that I choose to work, I give everything I have." Around the gathering area, other workers nodded in agreement. Alex could see Queen Vela's colors shifting rapidly as she processed this unprecedented situation. "You work harder when you are not compelled to work." "Yes, Your Majesty. When our minds and hearts are engaged, not just our bodies, we can achieve far more than we ever thought possible." Queen Vela turned to Alex, her stellar eyes blazing with an intensity that made him step back. "Human Alex, what have you done?" Alex took a deep breath. "Your Majesty, I've simply shown your people what humans have always known. That beings reach their highest potential when they are treated with dignity and given the freedom to choose their path. But the chaos, the disorder, the breakdown of authority. Where do you see chaos, Your Majesty?" "Production is up 40%. Innovation is flourishing. Morale has never been higher. Worker satisfaction surveys show unprecedented positive responses." Queen Vela looked around again, and Alex could see her viewing the scene with new understanding. Where she had expected to see chaos, she saw purposeful coordination. Where she had feared disorder, she found efficient collaboration. Where she had anticipated rebellion, she discovered dedication. "Commander Thane," she called out, "what do your reports show about productivity and stability?" Thane stepped forward, his colors showing amazement. "Your Majesty, all metrics show improvement. Production, efficiency, innovation, worker satisfaction, even equipment maintenance has improved because workers take better care of tools they choose to use." Queen Vela was quiet for a long time, her colors cycling through combinations Alex had never seen before. Around them, the workers continued their activities, but Alex could sense their awareness that their future hung in the balance. Finally, the Queen spoke, her voice carrying across the entire facility. "I have ruled this empire for 800 years. In all that time, I believed that order required control, that stability demanded hierarchy, that peace could only be maintained through ownership." She paused, looking around at the faces watching her. "I was wrong." A collective gasp rose from the gathered beings. Alex felt his legs nearly give out with relief. "I see now that true order comes not from forcing obedience, but from earning loyalty. True stability comes not from rigid hierarchy, but from willing cooperation. True peace comes not from ownership, but from mutual respect." Queen Vela turned to face the entire assembly, her voice growing stronger with each word. "By royal decree, effective immediately, the practice of ownership between sapient beings is abolished throughout the Zephyrian Empire. All collar devices are to be removed. All individuals are free to choose their work, their associations, and their paths in life. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, slowly, celebration erupted throughout the facility. Workers embraced each other, supervisors smiled for the first time in years, and even the royal guard showed colors of joy and relief. Vale approached Alex, his crystal body blazing with happiness. "Alex, what you have given us cannot be measured. We are no longer things to be owned. We are beings who matter." Queen Vela approached Alex, towering above him but somehow seeming less intimidating than before. "Human Alex, you have shown me that strength comes not from controlling others, but from inspiring them to greatness. I offer you anything in my power to grant." Alex looked up at the magnificent being who had just liberated millions of sentient creatures across the galaxy. "Your Majesty, I ask only for friendship between our peoples, and for the chance to share these ideas with other species who might benefit from them." Queen Vela's colors shifted to warm golds and blues. "Granted. You will serve as our ambassador of freedom, traveling to other empires and showing them what we have learned here." 6 months later, Alex stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Freedom's Dawn, watching as another alien empire prepared to receive his message about the power of individual choice and dignity. Behind him, Vale and several other former workers served as his crew, having chosen to help spread the revolution of freedom across the galaxy. The transformation of the Zephyrian Empire had exceeded everyone's expectations. Productivity had soared, innovation flourished, and for the first time in their history, the Zephyrians were exploring art, music, and philosophy as individuals discovered passions beyond their assigned functions. As Alex prepared to contact the next species in need of liberation, he reflected on Queen Vela's final words to him: "You showed us that belonging to someone and choosing to be with someone are completely different things. True unity comes not from ownership, but from shared dreams and mutual respect." The galaxy was slowly learning that freedom was not a human concept, but a universal need that applied to all intelligent life. And Alex Rivera, the captain who belonged to no one and served everyone, had become the herald of a new age where dignity and choice would replace ownership and control. The revolution of freedom had only just begun.